To start off, like, what kind of motivated yourself, Kerri, to get into like Freelancer, to do all these different kind of careers, the multi-hyphen careers? How did it all come about?
I think it was probably what kind of mainly started for me for a passion in sports nutrition. So I started off first working as a dietitian in the NHS, which I still do just now. But I went back to uni a couple of years after graduating from undergrad to go back and do some sports nutrition work. That's just always where my passion has been. And to get into sports nutrition, I was told when I went through uni that you pretty much need to think about getting into your own business some way, because to get into working for a club of some kind, or into really kind of high performance sport where I would love to be, the competition in Scotland is ridiculously high. So a lot of people would say that you need to try and think about getting onto social media, build up a bit of a platform and things for yourself, just to kind of get yourself known. And that's kind of roughly when I started like my Instagram page, just to try and kind of get a bit of a platform for myself a couple of years back. So that was probably where it started for me, just to see where it took me. And it's actually taken me in, as much as I still do bits of sports nutrition at times, it's taken me in completely different directions, which has been great. So, so yeah.
Fantastic. We'll go along the line for the introductory one. I think it's really best if we have like a mic between us here, a mic between you guys, if that's going to work best.
Yeah.
Okay, so I kind of got into freelancing, like this multi-hyphen career, kind of by accident, and a lot of it was because I'd been working in agencies for a while, doing a bit of social media, digital marketing, and I wanted to go back to uni, but there wasn't really opportunities to keep working part-time, and going back to uni meant I had to pay for it myself. So I was working in retail and hating it, and I thought, you know what, I may as well just give it a go. Someone who I'd worked with in the past actually approached me and said, I know that you are going back to uni, but would you be interested in working for us on a freelance basis? We'll be totally flexible to you. And that's when I actually said no to them 4 times before I said yes. I don't know why. I look back now and I'm like, that was the stupidest decision, but eventually they wore me down and I said yes, and now I've been doing it for 3 years nearly, mostly so I can be flexible with my life, which is the whole topic.
Yeah, absolutely. Which passes on nicely, I think.
I guess I've been doing freelance work on the side since forever. My background is in journalism, and I've been doing that since I was 13. And that's when I had my first article published, and it kind of hasn't stopped since then, I guess, which has been great. But the actual hop to going full-time freelance was really just inspired by the fact that myself and my partner have jobs that allow us to travel all over the world and work remotely, which is the plan in a few years, once we're both all up and running. So it just felt like a good time. Both of us are in the position where we feel confident enough to do that, we've built up our skill set enough, and I guess it's just a question of why not. That's why it started.
Absolutely. So I think the first thing that I think I'm most intrigued to ask, I know we spoke a little about it, Stephanie, and I know you got experience as well, Charles, all of you. What was the jump to freelance like? Like what, because that's a big transition period, going from having a fixed regular income to effectively being entirely reliant on your own kind of hustle. So what was the actual jump itself like?
Yeah. So like I said, I'd gone back to working in retail before I decided to go freelance. So if anything, for me it wasn't as scary as it is for a lot of people, because I had a 4-hour contract on minimum wage, so it really wasn't hard to earn more than I was earning.
There's not a lot of fixed income to be given up,
Yeah, and I was in a pretty lucky position, because I'd moved home to go back to uni. I didn't have a lot of outgoings that I couldn't just be like, Mum, like, sorry, this month, can I just pay you a little bit later? And also I had the safety net of SAS. So, and to be honest, I was just really, really excited to be working in what I wanted to do again after giving up my weekends to serve jumpers to old ladies. So, I think that's not really the norm. I can appreciate why it is like really intense people, but honestly it was just exciting for me.
Thank you. I actually had a really good time of transitioning from full-time into freelance. I worked full-time in an agency called Made Brave for 3 years, and then 3 guys I know who own 10 sunglasses offered me a part-time position as their marketing manager over the kind of key season, which is of course summer, as you'd expect for sunglasses. And that gave me just such a good net to be able to go freelance and transition into that time and buy some time as well. So I guess my jump was more of a steady into freelance, and it set me up really well, and we are now a freelance now, so it's been really good. And that came off the back of interviewing them for a magazine 3 years before, and we just kept in touch, and then this opportunity came up, and it was great.
I think that's an interesting one to touch on. Is like how have you guys found the client sourcing side of things? Like, how's that kind of been? Actually, as I say, if you're going out, for some it might be like previous clients, for others it's friends, or sometimes it is just hustle and cold calling. Like, how have you found that side of things so far?
I think for me, my kind of situation is probably a wee bit different from you guys. I still have a permanent job within the NHS, and it's over and above that is where I'm trying to get my foot in the door with sports or doing other things. I think for me, I was really fortunate that I took a job after I finished my sports nutrition postgrad a couple of years back. I took a job with Ayr Rugby Club. It was like part-time, it was just doing stuff a couple of nights a week for them at one point, and thankfully through someone I met there, I then ended up getting passed on to like a number of other people, which created a number of job opportunities. And that's for me where kind of sports stuff is really working well. It's often sometimes about who you know, so it's really important. Like a night like tonight is where you can make contacts with people, and that can sometimes obviously work really, really well. So just don't be afraid to speak to people, and that can sometimes actually take you into other kind of job opportunities as well. So that's something that's worked.
Welcome to Start Grind. Speak to people. Yeah, and how about for you guys?
Yeah, I know it's quite cliche to say like networking and word of mouth, and honestly I absolutely hate networking. I'm a really awkward person, and like it just terrifies me, but my approach was to do my networking on Twitter.
Oh, okay.
So I started a blog when I was like 14, so I've been blogging for like 10 years, which is horrible. But I had met a lot of people through Twitter, so when I put out that tweet with like, hey, I'm taking on freelance work, there was a lot of people who had seen work I'd done like through my time in agencies, personal projects that I'd done, and actually someone that I followed on Twitter followed me back, and we just struck up a conversation about startups in Glasgow. They are now my biggest client, have been for the majority of the time I've been freelancing, and they recommend me to so many people. And also like other freelancers, like Stephanie, I've had like so many emails being like, Stephanie's recommended you for this. So it's just like, you never know where someone's going to lead you. Like there's a lot of unexpected connections that you make.
Okay.
I can probably echo the same.
Okay,
It's just a case of people who I've known through agencies and friends. I first got my job with the agency through my best friend's big cousin who worked there. And like these things all stem from somewhere. Obviously you have to put the work in for people to be able to recommend you, of course. But also just seeking out opportunities too. I think there is such a powerful thing in actually searching for what you're looking for, and you'd be surprised by the amount of opportunities that come from just putting yourself forward and saying, hey, this is the type of thing that I do. And there's some amazing mail lists as well, mailers for like Shannon's one, that one, which is really good, which happens every week by a freelance writer in England. So for people like us, it's awesome. So yeah, it's just a case of using the resources that are out there, completely free resources for that matter, and making the most of them and putting yourself forward as well. That's been the case for me.
Okay, absolutely. I think we'll take it into a slightly different kind of approach, more along the lines of, say, discussing the work-life balance. And it's something offered that's a little different than, say, your regular kind of 9 to 5. So how have you guys found, and I'm most intrigued for you, Kerri, have you found juggling various different jobs, side hustles and everything, and when do you work best? What's the work-life balance like, and what's your thoughts on it?
I don't always get it right, and I often work far more hours than probably what is good for me at times, but it's just making sure that, so just now that I do juggle a number of different jobs, that it's more actually planning my time, that it doesn't bother me working the number of hours, but it's actually getting in between where different things are, or trying to like plan and organise my week around the different jobs that I do. But I think it kind of sounds a bit cheesy, but I think I enjoy all the different things that I do, so it doesn't feel like a chore. And I know sometimes that is quite a difficult thing to say, or it's a difficult thing to hear if you're maybe not in that position yet, but I don't grudge what I do, I enjoy it, so it doesn't really feel like a chore at all. But I think it's just maybe making sure that you factor in time for yourself at some point every week, because there's weeks that I know I've been really guilty of getting myself like close to burnout because I've had so much to do, and I was saying to someone earlier on that I'm a bit of a perfectionist with things, so I will make sure I get things done to the standard that I want them to be, and I'll not rest until I do. So it's just maybe making sure that you do set time aside for yourself, but if you are passionate enough to get to where you want to be, just put the work in, and yeah, you'll get there. So.
Absolutely.
To be honest, I feel like a bit of a fraud being on this panel to talk about work-life balance, because I have not been balancing it at all. At all. I've had, I guess this has been about a year of me being freelance, and I've been working from home in my tiny flat, and I close my laptop and then my kitchen's like right there, and I'm like, I guess I'm off now. And then my boyfriend lives in Leeds, so I've been travelling and living between two cities, and that's been, trying to fit in work as much as possible, because I don't really have a set week all the time, and I guess it's just it doesn't, that work-life balance doesn't come naturally. It takes self-discipline, and it takes motivation as well, which doesn't always come all the time, especially when you're working for yourself, I guess, because you don't have someone to work for and it all sits with you. So it's something that I'm just starting to achieve now. I just went to see an office space today, which hopefully means I'll have a little bit more balance, and I'll be out of the south side area a little bit more, instead of just hanging about coffee shops there like freelance schools in the corner. So yeah, I guess what I can say about it is that it doesn't come naturally, and it takes time, and I think everyone gives themselves such a hard time for it, and it's so difficult to achieve, especially when you work for yourself. So
yeah, I'm the exact same. I have no work-life balance.
This is a theme, right?
Yeah, I'm very, very prone to taking on far too much. So, for example, at the moment, I just launched a podcast like 2 weeks ago. I've just started a master's degree. I freelance maybe at the moment like 40 hours a week. I have my blog, I try to go to the gym, I try to have a social life, and honestly it's really, really difficult.
Yeah. What does the schedule kind of look like? Is there a schedule, or is it just do this now, do this?
Yeah.
Oh, I've got time.
I have to be really, really strict with myself to fit it all in. Like, I do quite literally plan my day by the hour, and I have to stick to it, but I'm also very strict at making sure I take time off, because I have to be. I do far too much, and like I was saying earlier, like today's been a really long day for me, because I've had uni and client work and this, but I decided to get it all done today so that tomorrow I can just stay in my pyjamas all day. And that's one of the joys of being freelance and being able to set my own hours. So it's swings and roundabouts. It's hard, but you know what, it's worth it.
Absolutely, yeah. And what comes with that, I guess, is a level of flexibility, although it may be working all the time, but you're right, if you need a day, or within a weekend or a week, it maybe isn't the case. We were talking earlier, as you say, like, you don't have to ring your boss up and say, hey, I worked 16 hours today, can I just have tomorrow off? Like, it doesn't work like that. So
and it's also kind of because I can pick when I can work at my most productive hours. So something I've definitely noticed for myself is that if I'm in the zone, I can get what I used to do in like a day, 2 days in an office environment when I wasn't really feeling it, done in a couple of hours. So I can work intuitively. I think that's the buzzword for it.
That's a huge one. Like, for each of you guys, when would you say do you have productive hours? When would you say, because we spoke about it as well, Steph, when are the most productive hours, and does freelancing allow, or doing this allow you to work more under that time than, as you say, an office job?
think for me, if anyone that knows me, I'm like a really big early bird. So I work best like first thing in the morning, and by 9 o'clock at night I'm a goner. Like,
Okay, yeah. How early is first thing?
5 is usually my starting time. But it's just something that I've been doing for a while, but it's something that allows me to get a wee bit of time in the morning to go to the gym. That's something that I enjoy doing, and that's the thing that I factor in for me, because I know at the end of the day, after I've either finished my NHS job or if I'm PTing at night, I don't have time to make for myself then. So I have been used to for a while between like different jobs, either when I was commuting quite a bit before I'm in my current job now, that was what I needed to do in order to make it work. And I've been fortunate that I've always been a bit of a morning person anyway, but I'm even more so of a morning person now. And it just works well for me. If I get up, I start my day right, and then I just feel I'm a bit more productive if I got off to a good start. So yeah.
Absolutely.
I would say kind of the same in terms of being a morning person, but to be honest, I think if I know more about myself, it's that it's after I've had a good sleep. I'm a very big advocate of prioritising sleep, and I seem to be most productive in sort of 2 to 4 hours after I have had a good rest. So, you know, if I go to bed at 9, which would be great, then as long as
well, good night, everyone.
Then it means I'm up really early and get things done. But at the same time, if I have something on that night, the night before, and I'm able to get, as long as I'm able to get those hours in and I'm well rested, then I'm happy to work either time. And I guess that's the joy of working freelance, is that you can start later if you want to. But yeah, if I don't get my sleep, I'm not really the best person to be around or to work. So as long as I get my sleep, I'm fine.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm the exact same.
Oh, we don't have
as long as I can.
I'm a night person, so I was hoping to have a little mini debating out there. Right?
It
Just
isn't
me.
that I'm a morning person. I just have to really force myself to be a morning person. And now that I'm in the routine, I do really enjoy it.
Okay.
It's nice and peaceful in the morning. No one else is awake. I can get so much done. But I do have to have had like at least a solid 8 hours. And I honestly do get into my bed at like 8:30, 9 o'clock most nights.
Okay, so that's fair. So it's such an interesting one, because when it comes to actually, well, when you say morning as well, it is morning like 5 a.m. type of, you know, it's not
that early.
No, not necessarily. Okay, fair. For a lot of, like, you know, whenever you say, well, people are still asleep, for example, like personally, I work very well 10 p.m. to 3 a.m., which is a completely, you know, it's a very unsocial kind of hour. It'd be difficult to find a job that wants to hire me over that time period. There you go, or a night shift. There you go. But I find the reason why I say it's quite productive is nobody messages you at that point. And if you can, like, if you're somebody who can stay awake to a reasonable degree at that point, it's doing the same way that I imagine 5-ish in the morning, 5-6-ish can be to that degree. But yeah, to another kind of point, actually an interesting one that I really want to talk a lot about, or would love to know your opinions on, is when it comes to like future work, working in some cases, like for you guys, potentially remotely for a long period of time. Something we spoke about, Stephanie, is going a couple of days without necessarily like speaking to people other than say the barista or, you know, something like that. What are your thoughts on balancing the health aspect of it, both mentally and physically, while maintaining this kind of, you know,
this is something that I was kind of shocked by how much I struggled with it. I'm a very introverted person, and see, when I did work in agencies, see if I had the chance to not speak to someone for a day, it would be amazing. Like, I would be so happy. But now I've realised that I actually do have to. I make myself get out of the house every single day if I can. Sometimes it is just a case of, instead of making a coffee in the house, I will walk the 5 minutes down the street and get a coffee. But it's kind of the headspace to kind of separate, especially working from home. It's quite difficult, and like I said, I moved back in with my parents, so I literally work from my bedroom. So I don't have much of a definition between my working zone and my like relaxing zone. So if I can force myself out of the house, even if it's just like going to Tesco, and just seeing if they've got any new cereal in. It's something
Someone
different.
quote that. I want to
It's just something. It's a change of scene.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'm really interested in what you
Indeed, that's it. The reason why I think this is an interesting panel we have as well is mental health and physical health in different professions growing the side hustles and passions. So I am also very intrigued, Kerri, as to your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, like I said before, I'm someone who doesn't always get it right, and I've very much got myself to burnout sometimes, and that's when it's like not good. You have to. That's definitely been like a big learning curve for me, of where for a while I know we're here for making sure that you get to where you want to be, but probably only over like the last 6 months to a year, I've got better at being able to say no to people as well when maybe you've got an influx of work. It's just maybe you have to take a step back sometimes and be like, can I really give this my best shot? Because like I said to you earlier on, I'm someone who is a perfectionist, and if I take on work, I'll do it to like the nth degree. And I think that's been probably one of the biggest things for me over like the last, like I said, half a year of being able to say, look, I'm really sorry, I can't take this on right now, but like I will be able to, at some point. It's just I have a lot of work on at the minute, and it's making sure that you always keep touching base with whoever that person might be. It is really hard, and obviously I'm not doing like sole freelance, but it's the juggling act of the different jobs that I'm doing that I do find particularly difficult. But I'm, like you were saying maybe seconds ago, as someone who's like not always great at getting enough sleep, but you need to make sure that you're either prioritising it at some point to make sure that you get enough sleep every night, also to make sure that you said is getting out the house. If you're using your like house as a workspace, which I do for a lot of the stuff that on the side, is that it can end up feeling that you go to work, you come home, your house space is your work as well. Make sure that you try and like sit into like one space, whether it's kitchen table, dining table, have a space in your house where it's just, you have got everything out of work is not involved in it whatsoever. It's not easy, and I think like we said at the beginning as well, it takes motivation in order to keep it, yourself going with a lot of the different things that you might be working on at some point. But it's worth it if you've got the enjoyment and stuff out of the work and things that you're doing. But yeah, so juggling it.
I think I guess not even if you're freelance, if you're generally living, is that so much of your physical and mental health sits with you, and I think you have to be, I guess being freelance has taught me that I have to be really honest with myself. And I think when I first went freelance, I was like, just you wait, I'll be in the gym all the time, and I'm going to go into all these events, and I'm going to be so sociable, and then I'm just like there, sitting on my sofa, working again. And it's just like, a lot of that comes from, I guess, when you're not self-disciplined, or if you haven't mastered that yet, we make excuses for things, and that's fine, that's totally cool, but I think there gets to a point where you have to be like, okay, how much of this can I actually take into my own hands? And at what point do I stop looking externally for excuses for the things I'm not achieving, and when can I actually control it and start putting these things in place to prioritise my mental and physical health? And that takes time. It takes a lot of honesty and some hard truths to get to that point, but you have to get there, I guess, eventually.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. That's a really interesting area, and personally I'm under the impression that we will move more and more, at least with jobs involving marketing, jobs involving software development, where you have software developers in the house, and more work becomes remote, either quasi-remote or fully remote, as we get more work from home days. And it's an interesting space, like idea to how, as we're sort of discussing now, how do you deal with the kind of loneliness that's even as an introvert, which some might surprise, I'm somewhat introverted myself. I definitely recharge when I'm by myself. But if I'm by myself for a day or two straight, it will be you find yourself really getting down, and I don't know. You spoke about, say, going out to the supermarket, going out, even the little things, going out to the coffee shop. What kind of do you have any other outlets or anything like gym that really, that you prioritise? You talk about sleep.
I recently started ballet.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was fun. I've never done ballet in my whole life. And I'm in this class with all these little old ladies, which is super fun, they're amazing. And it's like an adult beginner's ballet class at this Scottish Ballet, which is like round the corner from my flat, which has been awesome. And it's just been so cool to learn something that I'm really bad at and just start from scratch that most 4-year-olds are starting at, and I love it. And that's been really cool to do something that doesn't involve a laptop, nothing involved with work as well. So that's been really cool, and I guess just maybe trying to go out and see people in person. I am really I spend most of my time interacting on social media, as you will know. Charlotte and I have never actually met in person.
Oh, right. Hey, start around and bring people together, yeah?
So I guess trying to do that, going down to see my family and spending time with them and my little baby nephew and stuff. So I guess it's really just trying to do things in real life. That's the main priority, or just even doing nice little things like cooking yourself something really nice from scratch, and putting these things in place. They might not happen all the time, but they're such an outlet when you actually do prioritise them, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Absolutely. I think that rolls on to the next point. We're going to talk about the flexibility, the potential flexibility, kind of whether it is the goal going forward, whether it is somewhat achieved now. What are your thoughts on having that ability to take a day off, a week off, or in many cases you might be able to take a day off, but you can't take a week off in any situation just to keep the bills coming in? What's your thoughts on the flexibility you've so far been afforded, or what's the kind of hope for the future of everything you're doing?
I think it's really important. So I have chronic health issues, and that was quite a big motivator for me for going freelance, because there are days where I wouldn't be able to get out to an office to work, but if I can still work in bed, then that's ideal. So flexible working is really, really important to me, but I think it does need to be managed properly. I think there's such a thing as too much flexibility. That being said, I took a month off earlier this year.
Okay.
And it was incredible. And if I could do that again, but to be able to do that, I have to work so much harder in the run up to it, which is fine. I can get it done. It is worth it, but it's something that a lot of people who don't necessarily navigate self-employment understand is that if you take a day off, you're not getting paid for it. You have to make that money elsewhere. A lot of the time, we had a discussion about this recently, when people think, when people know you're self-employed, they kind of treat it like you're unemployed.
Which leads on to another point I'd love to talk about in a moment.
It's my boyfriend's always like, oh, can you just go do this for me, or if I take this day off, can we just go on holiday? I'm like, no. I absolutely love that, but sorry, we've just bought a flat, so it's always I have a mortgage to pay now. Come on. So yeah, definitely. It's great, love flexibility, but I think it's important to have some kind of loose structure in there, definitely.
For me, I don't know whether it's would say fortunate position, but my kind of main job, like I said at the beginning, is in the NHS, so I've got a kind of job security there from that point of view. That it's more the other jobs that I'm doing on the side, that's where I need to feel okay with taking time off of them. But fortunately, because that is a sideline, it's not my main job where I have to worry about that I'm taking a bit of time off. I'm fortunate I get obviously an annual leave through the NHS, so I'm lucky from that point of view. But I think I would definitely, obviously agree with you guys that it is making sure that you feel comfortable, because if you're going to take the time off and you have your own business and things at one point, even with the stuff that I do on the side, when I took time off earlier on this year, I still felt for part of it, I've got emails and stuff to answer and things like that, and it's really, it's detaching yourself from that part can be quite difficult, and I think that's again still a learning process for me, that it's only going to hopefully come with time. But I think if you are going to be doing something like this where you've got your own work and you're working kind of different hours and things of the day, whenever you do take time off, you need to make sure that that's you completely switching off, and you give yourself the time that you need, because if not you'll be constantly thinking, I've got stuff to do, or I could answer that just now. So yeah, that's what you've got to try and kind of balance where you can.
I think there's a lot of, I think even people who work within 9-to-5 jobs, there's a new wave of flexibility coming into that, and I think there's also this real attitude towards 9-to-5 jobs now as if they're the absolute devil, and they're not whatsoever. And they are so great at times as well. It just depends on the lifestyle you want to have, but you can see this flexibility coming into jobs now where companies are waking up to the fact that people maybe need a little bit of flexibility here and there to maybe go to a doctor's appointment or drop their kids off at school or do these things that generally would make their lives so much easier if they just had that little bit of time in the morning that they could add on later on. That's so valuable for people, and flexibility doesn't have to mean being totally freelance and working for yourself. It can just be that little smidgen of it that makes people's lives easier, and it's nice to see that starting to come into the workplace a lot more now.
That's actually a really good point to bring up with the help, the work from homes and this kind of opportunity. Yeah, that's actually a really valid point. I guess one of the final things I really want to touch on, or actually would be intrigued to know before we open up to the wider audience for some thoughts, what drives you personally what drove you to start the side hustles, and what drives you to work above and beyond the regular job, and what really motivates you to do this?
I think for me it's just for being a dietitian and things, I feel that if anyone who uses social media and things just now, that was probably one of the other reasons that I started my Instagram, was just because I was so frustrated about the amount of rubbish on nutrition that's out there. So not only just to get into a sports side of things, I just felt that I kind of wanted my voice heard a little bit on it. But for anyone that maybe has followed me from the beginning, at first I never wanted my name on it, I never wanted any pictures of me or anything on it. I was not someone who would put myself out there. I love speaking to people, but there's part of me that likes to just sit behind and let everyone else speak if I'm in a good situation. But I think it was after getting myself out there and realising that, I can actually help people. That's what probably keeps me going just now, because everything that's going on with nutrition just now is such a big topic, and I think there's so many people that are just now calling themselves nutritionists when they've done a day's course, and I'm like, oh my god, it's just so bad, the amount of rubbish that's out there. So it's, for me, I feel that dietitians aren't promoting themselves enough. We're often the ones that are thought of as being in the acute setting, or which is just in the hospitals, or working in community seeing patients that are really sick, which it doesn't need to just be like that. That's where a lot of dietitians start off, and yep, where I still keep a foot in the door just now, but there's so much that I think that we need to be doing way back from people who are actually at home, are able to do much more for themselves just now to prevent them getting admitted to hospital, and that's not just for that's just for the general population as well. How can we get ourselves healthier just now? And for me, it's getting the important information out there. I want to be able to. The biggest thing for me for what I use my Instagram for is often trying to post healthy recipes or workout inspiration or something like that. That I just want nutrition to be made easy. I want to clear the noise that's out there, because there's so much rubbish, like I said, and that's probably where the biggest passion is for me, and that's why I like kind of doing all the stuff that I'm doing. So.
And it brings you to so many different areas.
Yeah, and that's probably one of the biggest things. Like I said at the beginning, my Instagram's actually taken me down so many other channels. I've just realised earlier on though that it's not spelled with an O, it's a D at the end, just in case anyone tries to hunt me. But yeah, it really has opened up a lot of opportunities, and for someone who, like I said right at the beginning, didn't even want my name or a picture of me on it, I can't believe how much it's opened up so many other doors. And yeah, I would recommend that don't be afraid to put yourself out there, because you never know what it could bring, whether it's through networking or just by someone who's stumbled across your profile has opened up a huge opportunity for me over the last year and a half of writing a book, which I would never have thought I would have been able to get the opportunity to do. So yeah, that's probably
fantastic. Go buy the book. Yeah, very chill.
Yeah, even though what I do is quite different, like social media and nutrition, very different, I think it's the same. It's I'm really passionate about it. It's so cheesy, but I really, really love what I do. And I think as well, something that I've kind of been thinking about recently is, as working as a freelancer, I work with primarily really small companies, and you get to see more of the impact that you make. You're a lot more hands-on with how the work you do either makes someone else, makes their life easier, takes a weight off them, helps them reach new audiences, build a new business, just teaches them a new skill. And again, there's lots of people putting out really bad advice, and it was kind of me just being no, you're wrong. Yeah, I'm quite stubborn. And yeah, I think it is just the passion. Like, don't get me wrong, I would go back to a job if it was the right job and had the flexibility that I wanted, and I was doing something that I loved. And right now, for me, I get to do that. So yeah,
fantastic.
I guess for me it's a few things. I think there's just such a joy of doing something for yourself that's just yours, and it's your name to it. And I think when you've worked for people for a long time and you're working towards their dream, it's great that you get to contribute towards that, but there's just something really special about having something that's yours and you've built it. And also as well, for me, one of the biggest jumps was just the fact that freelance allowed me to have this flexibility, and obviously the dream is eventually to go and travel with it and be able to work remotely, and that's like, that lifestyle is something that I aspire to. And I just think that if you have the opportunity to do it and that's what you want to do, then it seems like a pretty good time to go ahead. While there's no mortgages or kids or anything in the picture, then if you can do it, then why not?
Yeah, I completely agree. I've got a few extra questions. I feel like this feels like a good time to open up to the wider audience. Do we have any questions, any thoughts at the moment? Yeah, right?
Hi, really enjoyed that. That was awesome. You're also talented. I wanted to ask, so I'm a product designer, so there's an opportunity for me to go into consultancy as well. Have you dealt with and how have you tackled imposter syndrome about your own abilities?
It's a good one.
How
I like
much
that.
time do you have?
All night.
Who wants to start?
On you go.
Okay. Oh, it's hard.
Who wants to tell imposter syndrome? I haven't.
I think a lot of that comes from the fact that what Charlotte touched on, that there's just a lot of crap out there, and you're like, am I the crap? Like, is it me?
Quote that.
Write that down. Am I the crap? And it does make you question it, but I think there has to be, I guess this is where there's value in actually speaking to your clients as well and getting their honest feedback. And productive feedback, it might not always be rosy, but in terms of imposter syndrome, they're the people who actually deal with you and who are actually your clients and actually dealing with your work. Forget all the people out there on social and everything. Like, it's great and it's a lovely ego boost whenever someone praises your work, but the people who are actually affected by your work are your clients, so speak to them. Their word is golden, and try and get the feedback from them as much as possible, because if you do a great job for them, they'll recommend you. And that imposter syndrome, whenever you get a great testimonial from a client, just magically withers away. So speak to your clients. I think that's my best way to tackle it. So yeah, but that's just one point. Talk after.
Imposter syndrome is one of the biggest things I've had to deal with, but honestly, going freelance has been the biggest confidence boost ever. It's not something I expected, but I look at things like I said, I've bought a flat and I run my own business alongside doing loads of stuff, and then sometimes I just have to take a step back and look at it and be like, you know what, I did this for myself. Like, I did it all by myself. And also, like, there are people that put really hideous work out there, and at first I was like, is this just what it's meant to be like? Is this just what everyone's like? Is this just what the industry is? But see, now I'm like, that's how I know that I'm actually decent at what I do, because I know that they're wrong. In the nicest way possible. But yeah, it creeps in every single day. It's like completely natural. I think it's a natural part of being like human. Unfortunately, it is the worst, but it's really, really empowering to go do your own thing.
Yeah, it's almost a good thing because at least you're questioning yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you're striving for better.
I was reading a book about burnout recently, and it said in it that if you doubt yourself, you work harder and plan more, so you're more likely to be prepared for anything going wrong, because you are like, what if this goes wrong? Whereas people that go in with false confidence, they're just like, oh, this is going to be great. They don't consider anything else happening. So it's a good thing, kind of.
Yeah. Doesn't feel like it at the time, but yeah.
No, that's a good point.
I thought Kerri would move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Right, Dietitian.
Just, I know how you were saying it gets to the point where you're burning out, and I was kind of thinking about how do you think about scaling? Obviously, bigger isn't always better. There's a book read recently called Small Giants, and it was talking about how people specialise in things, and they, maybe make like 100 pairs of leather pants, and that's it for the year, but they sell them to like the top celebrities.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to know what your thoughts were on maybe outsourcing things and taking a bit of the pressure off you, so then you could maybe think maybe not so much in the now but in the future, and kind of balancing that.
Yeah, it's something I think about a lot. I nearly hired someone this year to help, because it has kind of got to a point where if I want to grow my business, I need someone to help, because everything I do is linked back to my time. If I want more business, I need more capacity, so I need someone else. But see, to be honest, at this point in time, because I have just started a master's, I'm not that bothered about it. I just want to be able to live, kind of. But it's in the back of my mind. But I don't know. There's too many options to think about.
What do you think, Kerri?
I think for me, I'm probably, like I said before, maybe in a different situation from the other girls. For me, it's learning to be able to say no. My work's obviously not maybe like producing things or anything like that, but it's more just if I've got more like clients and things that are maybe asking for nutrition consultations or PTing or whatever it might be, it is really getting the confidence to be able to say I really can't take this on right now, because I used to just be someone who would say, yep, that's fine, I can do it, just because I enjoy it. I don't want to turn away like work or anything, and I think it's knowing that if whoever it's going to be, if they want you to do work for them, they will wait for you, and they will, and that's where I've been fortunate. I think it's just making sure that if you do turn around and say, look, I'm really sorry, I can't take this on, just now, I will be able to, give them like a timeline and see if that is suitable for them, keep in touch with them, and that's something that's worked in really, really handy for me, where it's not that I've lost someone, it's just I've said I will give them the impression, or let them know that I will do a much better job when I can actually commit the time to them, and that's where kind of the best thing for me.
Would you create a course or something like that? Is that something?
That's
most.
I talked about the book, of course. The book's incoming.
The book has probably been my main thing just now. Probably, at some point I would say that I would love to probably branch out a wee bit more, but I don't know where it would take me, and I think it's the fear probably of it being myself that would be then managing other people, and like you said, there's sometimes I've thought that, oh my god, like I really can't physically get round all my emails or all my messages and things that I need to answer, that I could really do with like a little bit of help, and even that's, it's thinking about employing someone that I'm not at that stage or anything, and if it was to ever come to that, it's then opening another like set of work, and that's where I just worry, would it take me out of the bit that I'm actually wanting to to be doing just now, is actually like what I would say is on the floor. It's me that's seeing people, it's me that's seeing clients and things, whereas I would worry that if I took myself out of that, would it be more me managing staff than anything else, but that's obviously like a way down the line, but I don't know, it's I definitely think it's from that, it's just making sure that you know your limits and just not taking on too much.
I think the outsourcing thing's such an interesting, difficult thing to get around, because it feels so strange to let go of something, but if you look at like Tim Ferriss' 4-Hour Work Week and everything, he talks a lot about outsourcing and how this gives you all this extra time to be able to do things. I'm not quite sure about the 4-hour thing. I think that's absolute nonsense. But I do think there's certainly value within it, and I get what you mean. Like, sometimes you guys probably feel the same, that for every single invoice that you get paid, you're like, I've had to work for every single minute of this. I had to do everything, and sometimes businesses just run by themselves and someone still gets paid, and you're like, damn it, why am I not doing this? But I think there are new ways for people to outsource. It doesn't have to necessarily be a case of hiring someone to be assistant or hiring someone to help you full time. There are now virtual assistants, so you can hire it for as little as a day. And if things are particularly stressy for a certain time, or if you do want to take a month off, or if you do want to have a holiday, then outsourcing is probably the best thing to do. And I guess it's just switching a mindset, isn't it? From I'm the only person who can do everything. It's like, nah, I don't know. there are other
Yeah.
people who are perfectly capable of scheduling content.
Yeah.
Like,
My mum
really,
could do it. Like
really simple things that people can take care of that take you so much time, but I think sometimes we need to just get a wee bit over ourselves and be like, someone else can do this, just give yourself the freedom. So hopefully that answers your questions. Thank you. Great, awesome, thank you.
Okay, well, I saw your hand to first now, so.
Right. Have you ever run out of money? Like there was no income because you didn't have enough clients, or just happened that you didn't have a project going on and for a longer period of time and you just had no money?
Luckily not yet, but it hasn't been
I like
here,
it yet.
touch
You just
wood.
saw.
But one of my biggest clients did take my advice and hire someone in-house recently. I spoke myself out of a giant contract, which was great. I don't know why I'm on this panel, but there's such a good idea. So that has been probably my biggest scare recently. They have been so great and they've given me 4 weeks notice and everything, which is fab. But right now I'm in the position where most of my income is suddenly vanished because of my own doing. But it's I haven't ever been in a position where I've had no money, and I think like a lot of us, it's we're very privileged to have a safety net in our wonderful parents who have said if the shit hits the fan, you always have here. And I think that gives people a lot more confidence. I don't know if they would really want me back, they're just saying that. But it might not. Thanks, Mother. Thanks, Mum. So, I mean, I guess in terms of the income thing, I've not been there yet, but it's good to know there's a wee bit of safety regardless.
Yeah, it's scarily close, but it's mostly because of my own spending.
Usually is.
I had a situation last year where it was like the end of November, and it was like the beginning of November. I had just spent weeks working on this quite intense project with like a retainer client that I had and I'd been working for over a year, and we'd just like met up over the weekend on this work, and then on the Monday night she emailed me and she's like, I'm going to shut my business down next week. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, we just worked so hard on this giant campaign, like, and you didn't give me any suggestion of the fact that you were thinking, oh, I might not do this anymore. And I was like,
Does she play poker?
no.
She should.
I know. So that was really intense, especially because I don't know if it's like this in all industries, but freelance digital marketing, after the Christmas rush, quiet, summer, very quiet, you do have to kind of prepare for the ebbs and flows of it, and it's tense. To lose quite a big client out of the blue at that time was stressful, but so far I've done okay. I think it is another thing that people say all the time is have a safety net, and I always try to keep at least 3 months worth of like my bills saved just in case. But luckily I've not had to, well, I've dipped into it for other things, but I've not had to dip into it yet.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Sorry.
I think for me it's been the NHS is my safety net, and that's because I know that my main passion is obviously to get into sports, like I said, and in order to do that, I would really, it's probably going to take a long time, or I'm going to have to be really lucky in order to get a full-time position in sports. And even then, when you work in the area of sports, if you say, for example, you get a job with a club or whatever it might be, you're not actually really permanent with them. You might be permanent with them for a season or with the current manager or whatever it's going to be. So ideally, well, for one reason, that's why I've kept my NHS job just now, and I enjoy my NHS stuff a lot, but I think it's just that it's trying to think about, for me, I just don't think I would have I don't think I would like the feeling of just not knowing that I had something else to keep me going, and my sports stuff just now, I was saying to someone earlier on that it comes in swings and roundabouts, and I just couldn't, even if I was fortunate enough to probably get slightly more hours with a club permanently or whatever it might be, I don't know if I could take the full leap of faith to do that, just because I know the market out there for it is very competitive, and yeah, for me I would just need the safety net, so that's why I'm juggling a couple of things at the minute. So yeah.
For sure. I think we've got time for one more question. I see Chris has been putting his hands up consistently for the last 4, so we'll hit you then.
So great panel, it's been great questions and answers and everything. So I'm also product design and still in my master's year. So I was wondering, how important did you find it working in industry before you went freelance to building up that confidence and the skill set? Do you think that was crucial to you going freelance, or do you think you would have been prepared, looking back, you would have been prepared to make that step immediately out of university rather than going into industry first? So you're saying you worked at the NHS, and do you think that was important in building up your skill set?
My, again, probably position is like, again, slightly different, but for anyone that is maybe thinking along the lines, I've always said that if you, so a lot of people I think if they are wanting to maybe specialise in, obviously we're talking about the area of nutrition, a lot of people think that they should maybe go and keep working through uni. Maybe I, like for example, I worked for a couple of years, then went back to uni and did my postgrad, and I was glad I did that. At first I thought, do you know what, I'm going to try and just add on another like year, you know, just to get the other extra kind of degree that I needed. But I'm really actually thankful that I didn't. I went out, made some money, got actually my grounding of what I would say is like basic dietetics, if that's like the right way to put it, of where you definitely, because we get a couple of months placements in over a couple of years, and as a student it obviously sets you up quite well, but it's totally different once you actually start working. So for me it actually really worked in my favour of getting like a really good grounding of general dietetics. It's really important, and then it's given me the confidence to be able to say I can actually specialise in this area and have the confidence to be like, do you know what, I don't need to necessarily always be working within a team in a hospital or something like that. So yeah, that's probably worked out better for me, is actually just getting a little bit of grounding first, either in a company or whatever. But yeah,
I think university was really important for me confidence wise. I think that's a lot of the reason why I've gone back to do a master's. I think it depends on the course, because a lot of courses are very theoretical, and then it's like, yes, you know how to write an academic paper about such and such a thing, but can you actually like, apply it in the real world? Whereas I imagine like product design is probably quite practical. And if, I mean, it can't hurt to give it a go. Like, it's one of those situations where if you think you have the skills and the professionalism to do it, like the worst someone can say is no. I know that's absolutely terrifying. Like, see, if someone said that to me, I'd be like, shut up. Hindsight 2020. So yeah, like there's not too much to lose. I do think it's important, like you said, like it gives you the groundwork, and I'm really glad that I have done it and I have the education behind me, because it helps me see things in different lights. But also, working in agencies helped me work on projects that I wouldn't have necessarily picked to work on, and that's probably where I've learned the most, I would say.
I think it can certainly be done, that you can just go freelance, but the one thing that you will learn, or the few things you will learn probably from working in an environment, is all the things that you wouldn't expect that you would pick up on. And it's little things like customer service and actually managing a project and making sure that that project's profitable from a time perspective, and just the business of it all, and actually being thrown in the deep end of a client meeting and you have to run it. For me, those were the things that became so valuable that I was like, oh, I can do this on my own, because the service that you provide is just as important, if not more, than the actual output that you deliver. And regardless of talent, that's something that actually happens in any job. Customer service is such a huge thing, whether you are working in retail or as a product designer as well. So I would say that if you can have that experience of customer service, whether that is in a product design agency or even if it was somewhere in retail, if you can master customer service and you have the talent and the drive with your actual output, then really think you're smashing.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming out. Thank you so much to the various Startup Grind teams we have. We have the New Caledonian team featuring at the university. We have some of my own team at Strathclyde University. So thank you so much for coming along, helping out. And again, huge thank you to everybody at CMS, to David and Megan who are here with us tonight. If you'd like to speak to them about anything CMS can offer relating to the programs, mentorship, contacts, they're here. You know, they're here to help and everything. But yeah, just say thank you so much for coming on Startup Grind. Plenty of pizza, beer, keep making these friends, and yeah, we'll see you next time.